to be here on a Sunday morning with you. And we have a jam-packed show. We are touching on a topic that has been near and dear to us, the prison system, prison service. And we are delighted to talk about rehabilitation efforts within the prison service with two deputy commissioners of prison. And we're going to hear from them because we've heard from prisoners themselves, we've heard from relatives of prisoners about the conditions in there and the access that they have to rehabilitative programs, because that is the objective of a prison. That is the punishment for committing a crime. You are sent to prison for a certain number of years or months or whatever it is. And when you leave those prison walls, you're supposed to be a changed person. So that's incumbent then on the prison service to provide those programs that will change people's lives, that will give them opportunities to learn new skills, to develop themselves, and to return to society as reformed citizens.
Yes, we have via video call Mr. Acting Commissioner Sherwin Bruce, and we're still trying to link up with Mr. Ramuta via telephone. And we hope we'll be successful in doing so, because these gentlemen have been members of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service for quite a while. I could tell you for sure, Mr. Bruce, when I started my journey, I first met Mr. Bruce at a workshop for the National Drug Council. And this at least 25 years ago. And he was just an ordinary prison officer then. And he worked his way up to this position where he's sitting this morning. And I would like to congratulate him publicly. There are two people who I always recognize these positions, is Mr. Bruce and John Archie, who, this is not an easy feat, folks, and they're a good example. They are good examples for both men and women serving their colors of stay course and, elevating themselves to number 2 on the list, number 3 on the list, top 5 on the list. This is excellent. And so, Mr. Bruce, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Tobago. On behalf of the Commissioner of Prisons, I'd like to say thanks very much for this opportunity. On behalf of the Commissioner, the Executive, all members of the service, and also the inmates. God, just a note, I'm still an ordinary person, God. When you met me, I was a member of the Prison Welfare Department. We were going gun-ho with how we have looked at what are some of the needs of the inmates and the training at national security with the drug program. I'd like to tell you congratulations, though, because I remember you were working on the logic model for the iron dependency. And I've seen iron dependency grow through the years. So, God and Ms. Nunez, congratulations to you both also. I'm sure you've had many voices saying that you have touched a life. So continue the good work that you do.
Next now.
Continue making it happen.
Mr. Bruce, I want to thank you very much, and I admire your modesty. But again, I'm not going to let you get away with accepting these accolades here. I am very serious about, people who hold on to their career, especially in the protective service. People take this for granted because, the saying, who in the kitchen feels the heat. And for you, all negatives that we hear about different arms of the protective service, when we could give kudos to those who made it, we have to. And I don't want to wait till, I hear Mr. Bruce was and I say, boy, you was a good man. Mind doing that. This is the time. So sit, enjoy, soak it in. You are done well.
Thank you, Mr. Singh.
You have done well.
Yeah,
You have done well.
my family and the service, I take this.
Right.
It doesn't happen alone as an officer. Theory tells us that that the prison service, correctional service, is one of the most stressful jobs anybody could have. So without the support of your family and staff, this cannot be. So I share that with them. So thanks very
Yes.
much, Mr. Sinclair.
And with the same, Mr. Ramuta, good morning.
Felt that we had grown.
Mr. Ramuta? Yes, Mr. Ramuta is here with us too. Mr. Bruce, Mr. Ramuta, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, God. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Mr. Bruce. Good morning,
Good
Miss
morning.
Alexander.
Right.
Let me apologize for my late attendance. It's technology.
We call it absent. But you're here. You're here, and thank God for that, folks. So we have a nice lineup of stuff to show you here this morning. And again, to our radio listeners, we will try to describe it to you. If you're interested in taking this journey with us and the prison service this morning, log on to our Dependency's Facebook page or YouTube channel if you don't have access to Facebook, because we want to take you on a journey, a positive journey of the work of the Trinidad and Tobago prison service here this morning. And I think we also have, there comes person here on Facebook, and for any question you need to ask to have answered, there comes the department will take care of that. Mr. Ramuta,
Hi.
again, let's talk about years of service. How many years of service do you have under your belt?
Well, just close to the 3 years service.
How much, sir?
33.
33.
Yeah.
You have a radio on in the background?
Yes, I'm listening to you, so I'll have to lower down the volume.
If it's possible, because we're getting a feedback or answer back, an echo. So if you have a headset you can use on your device, that would help. So while Mr. Amuta sorts that out, he's
We okay there now?
33 years service. That's a little better. Mr. Bruce, your years of service to the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service?
The same amount as Mr. Mota. Actually, came to service at the same time. As
Okay.
that, you will know we are batch.
Okay. Yes. Right. So, wow, and that's even better. Two members of the same batch holding top positions in serving the colors. That's even wonderful.
It's a lot more than it's about 7, 8 of us. So
Okay.
we thank God, and
This was a special batch.
It's always better. So we're happy to be a team going forward, carrying the service in the direction we know that it should be going based on our years of experience.
Right. Lovely. Lovely. So, folks, this morning, what we plan to do again, we are going to take you through the pieces here and show you the photos and, in some cases, 2-minute videos of the programs and rehabilitation department, the agricultural program, the livestock, I mean, you name it, the prison service, they have been doing it. And with the time you all see, because as I said, for the past how many years, we continue to talk about the negative side of the prison service. Of course, they're not a perfect unit, as you know. No institution is, but yeah, and you will hear about the officers who choose to get themselves caught up in all kinds of wrongdoing. But with the little resources that they have, and as you know, and if I could use this word, the system that they still operate under, the prison service still trying best to make ends meet and make do with what they have, and we have to admire that. So we're going to show you that this morning. Tasha?
Yes. You want to take a break and then come back?
Yes. So
Let's take a quick break and we'll come back and start by showing you the prison facilities that exist and talk a little bit about the clients, as I understand they're now referred to, the clients and the services. I guess we'll go into that later, the services that are offered to them.
yes, and I know different people up in terms of the word client. So we'll have Mr. Bruce and Mr. Amuta to again speak about that and why that change in language. And we know why, but for the uninitiated, we want them to understand what prompted the prison service to. And I think the first person I heard saying that was Mr. Wilson. So, folks, we're going to a quick break. And when we return, we will be speaking with Mr. Bruce and Mr. Ramuta, acting commissioners of prison. We'll be back.
This Sunday from 10 a.m. on episode 4 of On Dependency, reality radio at its best.
The mission of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service as a key element of the criminal justice system is to protect citizens by offering rehabilitation for offenders in safe, secure, and humane conditions. Is this very important arm of national security achieving its mandate this Sunday on On Dependency? Garth and Natasha, welcome acting Deputy Commissioners Ramuta and Bruce, bring you up to speed on rehabilitation efforts behind prison walls and the technology being used to advance the restoration of prisoners who are able to reintegrate into society. You don't want to miss On Dependency this Sunday from 10 a.m. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the On Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. On Dependency. We don't just share stories. We change lives. We change lives.
Boy. I feel I'm gonna buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know, some of these women were tricked to come here. Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Cappy, up there now, boy. All the small work there to do. Make a quick cheese to do from NG. Was I on do this? Tune in your boat, run up the islands, pick up some people and then put them back here for me. That's all to do.
That's something like human trafficking, man. That's a serious crime. I can't make that.
Trafficking in human beings is a serious violation of a person's human rights. It violates a person's right to freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and freedom of identity. It is a heinous crime which affects local, regional, and international peace and security. A victim of human trafficking is subjected to many types of abuse. The crime destroys a person's dignity and self-worth. Victims often feel hopeless, suicidal, and stigmatized in their communities. Child victims are deprived of their rights to education, play, and social interactions. They're essentially robbed of their childhood, and that can never be regained once those years have passed. If we do little or nothing to fight against human trafficking in our country, we can face economic sanctions from international agencies and partners. Our country will be losing money. Doing little or nothing to fight against human trafficking will tarnish our country's international image and, most of all, the value we place on human life. Human trafficking is no respecter of persons. Anyone can be a victim. So let us all strive to safeguard human life and dignity in Trinidad and Tobago.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Ion Dependency, and we are live on I95.5 FM on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for staying with us. We have via video Deputy Commissioner Bruce, and on the phone, Deputy Commissioner
Ramuta.
Ramuta.
No, I'd like to say good morning to the Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. Polchan, Dennis Polchan, and thank you very much for kindly consenting to have the office sit with us here this morning. The Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, the Division of the Ministry of National Security, is committed to the protection of society and crime prevention by facilitating opportunities for rehabilitation for offenders while maintaining control on the safe, secure, and humane conditions. Now, we had a former prisoner on last week, former client, and he gave his take, and of course, with the consent of the minister, we going to do another program with them. But this morning we have Mr. Bruce and Mr. Ramuta here. Now, gentlemen, we'd like to show the public the 11 facilities under the management of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service and the various target groups whom these programs and institutions offer. Now, Mr. Hinkson, when you get an opportunity, let's put up the first photo so that those on Facebook and YouTube can see it. And so, gentlemen, we're looking at here Eastern
Correctional and Rehabilitation Center and Carrera Convict Prison.
Right, Mr. Bruce is there. Mr. Ramuta, you there, right?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Okay, great. All right, so we are taking you through these. For those of you who never seen these facilities before, we got this Carrera Island Prison and ECRC. Next photo would be right, and this is we're looking at now entrance to
Golden Grove Prison and the Claxton Bay Correctional Facility, the Golden Grove Prison Complex.
Claxton Bay Correctional Facility. Now, this one
is relatively new.
This is a new setup here.
Yes, it is. Due to the COVID situation and the need for quarantining and separation of COVID positive individuals, the Claxton Bay Correctional Facility was opened in October 2020. If you would have, those who are seeing online, they would have seen the ECRC, East Correctional Rehabilitation Facility. That facility has now become our intake station. Due to our COVID protocols, this intake has been what has kept us as a service where we have at present 4 COVID positive persons out of a total prison population of 3,800. So, in spite of the lack of social distancing, to have a COVID positive total of only 4 at this time tells you how our protocols are working, and that team led by the commissioner, the director medical, prison supervisor Mr. Lopez, our COVID command officer Mr. Alexander, and that whole team at the COVID command center are doing an awesome job.
Well,
prison COVID safe.
That's really that's commendable. Especially as I said, take into consideration everything.
I would like to add into
sure, Mr. Ramuta.
The commissioner and sleep.
Mr. Ramuta, you're going in and out, yeah? So careful. Let's because we want to hear every word that you have to say. So start again, please.
Prison service in supporting our dealing with COVID. So
the Ministry of Health.
Yeah, no, the Ministry of National Security.
Okay, yeah, because you're breaking up, so I didn't know which ministry you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, both ministries, both ministries.
Right. National Security and Ministry of Health, right?
Yes.
Right.
Assisted us tremendously.
Yes, you're sounding better there. Stay right there where you are.
Okay.
If it's on one foot, you're standing right now, please stay right now.
Yeah, I'll do the ostrich.
Right. And Mr. Bruce, the one at Claxon Bay, the building looks familiar though. Is that
A repurposed facility.
that was Vision and Mission at one time, or what Vision and Mission had put up?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it is. It is. Yes, it is. It has been repurposed as Mr. sort of said. We did some repurposing of the building, some construction, we made
Right.
some changes to security. We also ensure that it's safe because remember it's in a community.
Yes.
So we must ensure that whoever we send into that location will be manageable. So
Right.
besides that separation, we also take the community into consideration.
Of course. Can you say, Mr. Bruce, how many people are housed there at the moment?
At the moment, we should have those 4 positive persons there,
Okay.
and also we should have some of their cohort at the same time there, because
Right.
we place persons down there as cohorts.
Okay.
When they become positive, to ensure that the separation doesn't transfer from person to person.
All right. So the next slide, Mr. Hinkson, would be and folks, if you just join us, you're listening to our Dependency, and we are speaking with Mr. Bruce and Ramuta, acting commissioners of prisons, and they are taking us through the various locations, 11 in all, and we are showing it. As I said, we describe it for our listeners. So now this is what we see near the entrance to Port of Spain prison. One of the oldest, should I say?
Pardon me, sir?
One of the oldest institutions in Trinidad and Tobago under the prison service?
Yes, it is. One of the oldest. When you look at the history and you're reading through the history of the prison service, you see that the Port of Spain prison was constructed on the outskirts of Port of Spain.
Right.
Near the outskirts. And now we laugh because Port of Spain prison is in the heart of Port of Spain, the capital of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep.
So
the city is run around it.
Development happens, and over time, where the prison is now. At that time, when it was constructed, it was on the outskirts. If you look through history books,
yes,
you see it was constructed on the outskirts of Port of Spain.
Okay. Okay.
Got a little housekeeping.
Yes.
We are acting. Both of us are acting deputy commissioner of prison and not acting commissioner of prison.
Okay.
Because we don't want to go back there and get some blows. Right? So we are acting deputy commissioner of prison.
Well,
thank you for that.
Hint,
promoted you.
Yes. Well, thanks for the correction, Ms. Yes, hint. And so the Hinkson, let's go on to the other slide.
Just a note that we
yes. Sure.
The training college and that team that's led by the superintendent there, Mr. Dion Emmanuel, we have passing out on the 14th of February. On the 15th of February, thanks my person. The 15th of February, I'd like to thank that team for the wonderful work that they are doing and continue to do with the induction training and the constant training and bringing new blood. As you heard at the beginning, it's 33 years plus now.
Yes.
So this new blood, we have hopes for them, and knowing that they will continue to carry the service forward in the direction it should go into the phase of correction and continue with all our rehabilitative efforts.
Hinkson, let's see the picture of the training college, please. All right.
Yes, there.
Remember, I did here. Mr. Ramuta, that?
Yeah, as submitted passing out for the listenership who do not know what passing out means in this context is that it's at the end of their training session. There's a big parade, a drill parade and all that. Of course, this time will be all the COVID protocols in place. But it's a drill parade where they demonstrate what they learn, a little snapshot to show that we are ready to go and ready for induction.
Right. Then we have picture of the Youth Training and Rehabilitation Center.
And the women's prison.
And the women's prison now.
And we understand that the YTRC now accommodates girls.
We have a separate facility for the females.
Okay.
For the girls, which that facility is located in the Golden Grove Prison Complex also.
Okay.
It's within proximity to the women's prison.
Mm.
That facility is also free.
Right. So what we're looking at here now is the women's prison and the ITRC, the Youth Training and Rehabilitation Center, which was formerly, as people know, was formerly YTC, Youth Training Center.
Yes.
Right. So the mere fact that you have changed that means that there's an emphasis now on rehabilitation of youngsters.
There has always been an emphasis, but it's in the language. As our language changed from prison to correction, it tells you where we are going forward. And some words now we can't say, but remember, we had the words handicap and we had the other words coming forward till we move to differently abled and we keep on going forward. It tells them in the thinking what is the major scope of the organization.
Mr. Amuta, anything to add to that?
No, Mr. Bruce has spot on with that.
Okay.
The final slide here is we're looking at remand prison at Golden Grove and the Tobago convict prison. Do we have any good news as regards Tobago? Because I know that is of particular concern to the citizens on that island.
Yes. Any update for us on a new facility yet, gentlemen?
I think that has to be at my scope. But I would like to say congratulations to the guys, the officers across at Tobago convict prison. I had a conversation with the supervisor with some of the work that they are doing with rabbits and work on all the systems they've been getting from the PHA and also the probation department on that side. We're about to start another program called the Prisoner Support Program. That's in conjunction with the Probation Services Unit. The whole of Trinidad and Tobago, the whole of the Park Service approach. If we want something, we all have to work towards it.
Indeed. Before we go on though, could you?
Can I add here?
Sure, Mr. Ramsey.
To put it in a nutshell, what Mr. Bruce is saying is that we have reduced the numbers there, and we're focusing on quality service as regards to quantity. So until the institution can expand or be relocated, we're looking at those programs Mr. Bruce mentioned to give us a quality service.
Right, and finally,
we have to
Mr. Bruce?
We have reduced numbers, not exceeding 30 inmates at that facility at any time.
Okay. Now, gentlemen.
It's 21.
Just to finally point to remand where, I mean, everyone knows that there have been many issues. There are a lot of issues with remanded prisoners. And a lot of it is beyond the control of the prison service, of course, because it depends on the justice system, the judiciary as to turn over matters in that regard. And how does the work of the rehabilitation programs and rehabilitation department impact on prisoners who are on remand, if at all?
All right, let me jump in here. And I need to put on the table a different perspective. Or fine-tune the perspective. Earlier on, Natasha, you made a statement that prisoners are supposed to leave the prison a changed person.
Yes.
Right? Let me fine-tune that. Prison's mandate really is not to change people. It isn't that easy. If people could have been changed, they wouldn't have been in prison. But there are so many other stakeholders out there attempting to do that before they come to our fold. Prisons do what we're supposed to do, provide opportunities to change. And encourage our inmates. That and I'll explain that to you. And encourage our inmates to participate and remove the denial within them and say, I need just drug addiction. I need help, and this program can help me, and then we move forward.
So, Mr.
At times,
Ramata, so gentlemen, so the what does it rehabilitation mean as it relates to you? Or this what you're speaking to? Yeah.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
So it was important that I put this perspective here. In providing the opportunities, a person reality they are in life. So remanded inmates are considered innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Now it's strictly for the remanded inmate to agree to guilt, but yet he's facing the court, or agree to I need rehabilitation, and you're still facing the court, because you may be telling the court I am innocent, or perhaps I want a chance to explain what transpired, but yet still engage in a program that is designed to change your criminal behavior. I need to put that out there, and person needs to put that on the table when they look at prisons, what we are mandated to do and what we can do. But and I'm not sure I want to say we can supposed to provide the opportunities for change. Persons who are that is mandated in who are willing to accept the fact that you can benefit from these programs, welcome. And we try as much as possible to encourage participation.
All right, but so when would these programs at any time you are discussing mandatory that the client would not have a choice but to get involved in some form of program inside there?
All right. That's why I said I like and clients. When you come into prison yesterday with a warrant, you do not become a client automatically.
Right.
Your willingness to engage in rehabilitative program and through monitoring and evaluation, you can then become a client. There are some systems who are resistant to change. These are change programs and so on. So when you have
Mr. Ramuta, just let me interrupt a minute. Where you are, is it possibility of a landline or something? Because a landline, because we still having issues with you going in and out. And I know what you have to say is very important. We don't want the listeners to lose what you say.
No, the landline is down.
Okay. So again, you need to shift a little bit so that we can hear you properly, because you know, I want people listening to understand clearly you know, some of the things that we hear, and hearing it from you all here this morning will be very important. So
yes, sure.
And when, well, we'll ask that going forward, because there's we heard Mr. Pulchan speak about correctional and corrections.
Yes.
And you know, it's a term that we have been using for quite a while.
Right. So let me just wrong off this point here, right?
Yes.
When we have a function, a graduation of a particular program, and stakeholders, and we celebrate the end of the program, all those persons, yes, they are clients.
Okay.
In the
Understood.
program, and check and they display success in the program. So they are clients. They are inmates. Yes. We have more. And so
yeah, this is
connection is really
this connection is really
shaky.
bad, Mr. Ramuta. Mr. Bruce, I think you might have a feeling at some point. Let's go to this 2-minute video programs and rehabilitation department, presented by the programs and rehabilitation department. And also who we have online from your comms department, Mr. Bruce, is it Mr. Alexander?
Yes, we have
Right.
Mr. Alexander here. Welcome.
Morning to you. Morning to you, Mr. Alexander. Thank you very much for your time this morning. All right, so let's go to that 2-minute video, programs and rehabilitation department. Thanks, and over to you. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with. Yes, we are speaking with Mr. Bruce, Mr. Ramuta, And let me get it right, Acting Deputy Commissioner of Prison.
Yes.
And
Welcome to episode 4 of our Did You Know series.
let's go to the video.
Welcome to episode 4 of our Did You Know series. In this episode, we feature the Programs and Industry Department. This particular department is the largest department within the prison service, and it plays a critical role in the rehabilitative process. It is headed by a Deputy Commissioner of Prisons and is staffed with over 100 dedicated officers who go beyond the call of duty on a daily basis.
My name is Sherwin Lewis, Presidency Assistant Commissioner, Programs and Industry. The Program and Industry facilitates the creation of opportunities for inmates who we refer to as our clients to engage in programs that would allow them, when they would have left the institution, not to return. The Program and Industry Department has the industry component. The industry component is where we develop scalable skills within our clients, whilst they have the opportunity to practice here, and on the start, part of their reintegration and their resettlement, they would have engaged in those programs as a way of earning. They will now have the opportunity to engage in restitution and also as a nest egg for their discharge. This scalable skills program allows them to set up their own business. The main aim of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service is public safety. The Program and Industry Department work alongside all officers on stations, all the operational officers, to ensure that all the programs that happen tailor for the needs of people.
Academics, vocational, skilled labor, religion, and even sporting disciplines. These are just some of the initiatives of the Programs and Industry Department. They are all designed to cater to the individual needs of our clients and to prepare them for re-entry into society.
Right.
All right. So that was a snapshot of the Programs and Industry Department of the TTP.
It was a snapshot. Pre-COVID, remember that's pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, yes.
Yes. And you
So
have
how then are these programs developed? What determines what kind of programs are offered to the clients at the prison?
The Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service has an assessment tool known as the LSTMI, Level of Service Case Management Inventory. It's a tool with 8 criminogenic needs. We look at the person's risk. Some persons, because of their risk, they can't be involved in external programs or they may escape. So they're not channeled, or they are kept within the confines of the prison before being allowed externally to become involved in certain programs, or we may have issues with escapes. We look at their risks, we look at their needs. What are their needs? What are they falling short with? What are the things that would have led them to perpetrating the action? And we look at the responsivity. That is their specific personality type. When all this has been assessed, we will have numbers going up in different directions. But we know issues of syllable skills, academic, family, leisure, recreation, the criminal personality, and the association with French criminal associates are some of the main issues that are involved. So programs are developed based on that. We also have special needs program. Sexual offenders, we know that's a special need. We also have the aging population. And of course, I know this is our pet peeve. We try
Drug
much.
offenders.
The drug offenders, yes.
Yes.
That's that, and I must say, Rebirth House has been since the beginning. They've been there. We've had New Life Ministries. We've had different modules, vision and mission modules. We have our intake. We even used our Rise Maximum radio. Rehabilitating inmates seeking empowerment, Rise, our internal radio. I know that's also something dear to your heart.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is, of course.
Yes, and we use to conduct rehabilitative programs because sensitization, it may not be a program, but sensitization is important in having persons become interested, especially remanded persons, even victims, because as you would know and you have said before, you cannot force anyone into programs. A
Right.
man changes against his will.
Is that the same opinion still?
Thank you very much.
Hinkson put up the International Literacy Day. Before we go on to our next question, Mr. Bruce and Mr. Ramuta, we had you all had an International Literacy Day participation. Tell us about that, because again, we know a lot of men and women who come into prison, some of them are semi-literate or even illiterate. Tell us about this. The International Literacy Day. Gentlemen, you there?
Yes, we are here, Mr. Sinclair.
So that's the photo we have up now, International Literacy Day. You all have some men and women take part in this.
Yes, that was at the Spain prison, sir.
Right.
We have realized, as was said on a previous program, that literacy, the academic part, is a concern for a lot of the inmates within our space. And we have always looked at what happens not only locally, but also on the international scale, not only in this jurisdiction, but also other correctional jurisdictions. And we try to partner and move along. We've had some local persons who would have partnered with us, hence the library at the Port of Spain prison. And we continue to ensure that we operate how things should be. Of course, as was alluded before, financial prison is not perfect. And if we have to fool ourselves and sit on our laurels and feel that perfection is here, then we always stop growing. So we always strive and continue to grow. Not only through the directive and policy designed by the Commission and the Executive, but also the input of the officers and also the inmates who are in our space.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency right here on 95.5 FM, live on the Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel. We have lots more to show you folks. We have the agriculture program, then there's a Go Room at Men Prison, the debate competition, art program, and boy, do we have some artists in our nation prison. It's really amazing. The kind of work that they've done. We showed a clip of time here of guys doing constructions with cardboard, cardboard boxes, and they transfer that into houses. And the soap. Yes, and the soap art. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. There are a lot of talented people find their way behind prison walls. Is amazing. But yes, sir.
Let me just interrupt a bit. I'm sorry, but persons in prison may not be able to sit in a classroom and do all your maths and all your English, but talk about wisdom and innovativeness.
Yes,
that you have. We've been trained to look at excellence from an academic perspective, but when you become a prison officer, you understand that excellence doesn't always lie in a classroom. A guy I was at MSP last week, and this guy could tell you everything about fish, koi fish. There he is on planting, on planting the plant, banana planting, and how it's done, and they have the estate and they're going, and the guy sitting down and listening, and training happens intentionally, with intention and vicariously. So why some people say we have a classroom? Yes, we have a classroom and we have the structure. but learning also happens by the office, through the officer, how he cares about himself. What does he do? Does he believe in that correctional direction? As we move towards correction, not only in words but in legislation and
Action.
our action.
Yes, and folks, that's a very important point. And talk about innovator. I remember Mr. Wilson giving us a joke at time. He said they were doing some searches and they found a guy bubbling a pot in a microwave that they made. That they made microwave.
A microwave, cardboard foil.
Yes, it was
cardboard foil and a little fire.
Yeah, it was ingenious. I must say. But you want to talk, Natasha? Well,
we're gonna go to a break.
yeah. So let's take this quick. We have Mr. Mutabas.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, yes, I'm sounding much better.
Hey, you sound much better, sir.
Much better. Sir,
Thank you. Vitamins.
Stay right there, folks. We'll be back with lots more. We have lots more to show you. We are speaking with Mr. Dependency, Ramuta, and Mr. Shuin Moose, acting deputy commissioners of prisons. We'll be back.
Slavery, a terrible time in our history. The kidnapping, buying and selling people for profit, the exploitation of another human being. It still exists today. It has a new name, human trafficking. Anyone can be a victim. There is forced labor, sexual exploitation, and domestic servitude. Human trafficking is a worldwide problem and an emerging concern for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. If you know of or suspect human trafficking activity, call the Counter-Trafficking Hotline at 800-4CTU or 800-4288. Human trafficking is a crime. Identify it, report it, stop it. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
The sex trafficking thing is a serious thing, you know, boy.
Sex trafficking? I thought it was human trafficking, it have.
But what do you mean?
No serious thing, where you get from. I mean, about human trafficking, you're about sex trafficking.
So how can you spot and identify perpetrators and children who are victims of trafficking? Many victims who are children do not look like under 18 years old. Child victims often move escorted around alone or in small groups. They also live in shared and even packed rooms and have very little clothing and belongings. Child victims are often seen with adults who are not their parents, their relatives, or their caregivers. Migrant children are often unaccompanied and separated from their parents. Child victims are often engaged in work that is not suitable for children. They are often deprived of their freedom to go to school, to play, and to enjoy being a child. Perpetrators have unexplained sources of income and possessions. They are businessmen and businesswomen running legitimate and illegitimate businesses. Perpetrators may appear to be the victim's friend, boyfriend, close relative, or employer.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Iron Dependency, and we are speaking with Deputy Commissioners of Prisons Bruce and Ramuta about the rehabilitation programs that are offered within the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. We've seen a lot, and we still have a lot more to show you.
And as dependency, the word dependency, we depend on the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service to hold and treat their clients, and giving them that opportunity if they desire to return to society.
Yeah,
a different person. and you offer several types of rehabilitation programs. Gentlemen, could you tell us what are the types of rehabilitation programs administered by the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service? And we have some photos that we got to show. So gentlemen, over to you.
Right. Inmates are engaged in the following areas of rehabilitation: academic, from literacy straight up. And I know some time ago, I don't know if it's continued at the moment because of the COVID. We're at the Youth Training Center, then the Youth Training and Rehabilitation Center now. The residents there would have gone out to do tertiary education. So we have from literacy, basic literacy straight up. Then we have the vocational, where we look at syllabus skills learning, from simple things like concrete pot making. We have the sports. Sports plays an extreme part. At Pereira, we have used a lot of the avenue of sports to have persons understand the importance of winning gracefully, losing gracefully, teamwork, team building, even understanding self and managing self, managing anger. And sports plays such a great role. We have the life skills program, and we also encourage maintaining family bonds. Theory, we try to look at data and theory, not only in this jurisdiction, but on the international landscape, where the family support system is one of the greatest strengths towards stopping persons from reoffending. And through the years, the use of COPCAM and all the other organizations, we would have developed the family programs, the inviting of children. Now with the virtual visits, we have that opportunity where a person can actually speak with the entire family online. And this has been one of the opportunities taken from the COVID experience. We've had our religious instructions.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, you may, sir.
Right. Sharon, on the family program and so on, I wanted to add there, Garth and Sinclair and listenership, the word socialization is one word, but it means a lot. And your ads spoke about children a lot and human trafficking and all that. Most of the times, our inmates, our clients, have learned to socialize in the wrong way. So what they learned, the family value system had broken down, and they resort to survival and undesired care influence them negatively. So they were socialized inappropriately. They learn things, they learn survival skills, and most of the time, the word criminogenic needs comes in here. So coming into the system, in the prison system, that's where rehabilitation comes in. What Mr. Bruce was mentioning there, the family system, we try to go back to the family system and do the proper socialization with the inmates. Now, socializing a child is much more easier than socializing a big, hard-grown man that have done all the negative things and end up in prison. So, family value, family bonding, family support is critical. And in our rehabilitation programs or initiatives or providing opportunities, we always try to bring in the family members. And sometimes it will be a relationship. It could be a significant other who have a great influence in your life. So I just wanted to add that. Over to you, Evan.
All right. Before we go now, gentlemen, we have some photos of the agricultural program, and we have to step on the gas because time flies here very fast. So, gentlemen, we're going to show first. We have watermelon. I mean, look at how this is. Look at watermelon we see in here, and I'm sure this is just a snapshot of what you all reap. Tell us about this.
Agriculture plays a role not only in training that syllabus skills, but also the issue of the persons getting down their hands in the dirt, having to be able to touch and have an outcome, a successful outcome. As you can see, if you look at the guy's faces holding the watermelon, look at the guy in the middle, how he's holding that watermelon, smile on his face.
Yes.
It tells you something how they feel. So the programs are not one-dimensional. We also have hydroponics, we have pottery and half and metal work.
You could go to the next slide.
Yes,
Short
this is
man,
at the
keep
women.
going.
And remember, folks, if you join on Facebook, YouTube, see this, you can.
Yes, hydroponics area where we're doing seedlings. The seedlings now would go out into the fields and we'll develop our agriculture. The
Okay.
aim going forward is to have a strong, positive agriculture department, not only where we do trading, because we have from cattle, we have sheep, we have pigs, we have chickens, we have ducks, we even have eggs. But how do we develop those programs? We also partner with external entities that will grow, because this is what they do as a professional. It would be foolhardy of us to believe that we could do it all alone. The input of Trinidad and Tobago in our rehabilitative aspect, even with the donation of systems, donation of computers, all those things go forward to helping us develop and continue developing, because it will also add to what we have.
Right. And thank you very much, folks, for joining us. Now, you had a debate competition, and we know that some of the best debates in the country emanate from Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. And there was one done at Woodford Square. I remember that for a large audience. And here you have pictures of that now, of the debate at Woodford Square. How is the debate team, and how any plan in the future with more debate?
We, of course, before I start, I just say thanks to Ms. Debbie Jacob for all the work that she would have done in creating this entity. Like I said, prison cannot do it alone, and we continue to partner with persons who have the skills, the capacity, and the heart to this. This is something we intend to continue because it has value. Let's just look at the debate team. Before you reach there, your literacy has to improve. There's an academic component.
Right.
Then going forward, there's research components. Then there's a self-development component where you build your self-esteem to get to that point where we go to the other component where you could speak in public. So these programs are not one-dimensional, and they comprise so much and teach so much. So we cannot look at these things just as a debate team. But what did it mean to us? So what does it mean to the institution? And what has the inmates, our clients, what have they gained from this? And I know if you look at the guy on top, he is also one of our persons at Rise Maximum Radio.
Yes.
And that encouraged that speaking and that confidence. So the debate competition, let's hope that we could do something virtually. We've had several items on our agenda for 2022 to do virtually, our calypso, our art show, the debate.
Speaking of art, we have a photo of the art. Shortman, you can go to that.
Of the chess competition. So how do we do all these things now during COVID? We have to look at those new opportunities that were created by the pandemic. How do we bring forward some of the same things in a new way?
And we're looking at the art now. And I know from time to time the prison service would have an art display at different locations. Non-circular mall to start with. I know I've seen it before. And if you have art that requires displaying, you should know how beautiful and well done this art is, and people all pass through mall. They draw a large crowd. Everybody would go there just to see the art of these men, and you know, and
that's just the tip of the iceberg.
just the tip of the iceberg. We know, yes.
These guys continue to work. They have grown as a strong team. They have also trained other persons within the field. Before again, Sister Kate Narayan Singh and Raj Yoga, they have assisted us greatly in this venture. And my last conversation with Sister Narayan Singh, Sister Kate, she's willing to lend her expertise to guide and assist us going forward. Once again, we cannot do this alone. We'll be foolhardy of us to even try. This program is just an example of that.
And the Calypso competition, we have Kingston, you could go to that now, please. The Calypso competition that is held annually.
I think these are from Barrera.
What location, which location are we looking at here, Mr. Bruce? Mr. Ramota, if you...
Well, I heard Carrera, and this is Carrera. As long as you see Mr. Philip there, that's Carrera.
Right.
But I just see there's a bias to Carrera, Mr. I'm sensing that.
I'll have to speak.
We have programs through all our institutions.
Right.
Last year we did it virtually, and this year, God's willing, we also intend to do it virtually again.
All right, lovely, lovely.
Mr.
Ramota?
It's not one-dimensional.
I want to add here that those clients who engage in the artwork and craft and so on have accepted the fact that I need change. I was socialized inappropriately, and I'm willing to accept change and change myself. So you get success in this program, you get your talent being shown, but if you remain in denial, the programs will not work for you as best as it should.
Lovely. And we have pictures of them in Woodford Square, and the client really look forward to these occasions, I can tell, because they go the distance in preparing and presenting.
Yeah, props.
Yes.
Props. It is a wonderful race, and again I stress it is not one-dimensional. If you look at the costumes coming out of women's prison, the person who have designed that, I won't call her name now, but Stacy has worked a lot, and she's shown the persons, even the measuring, cutting. It may seem simple, but they all have value, and even the foreigners, I remember the foreigners being part of it and trying to understand the carnival and understand the dancing. But it has its value, and we continue and will not lose this opportunity. We will do this with you.
You're just joining us, folks. You're listening to Dependency. We are speaking with Mr. Dibsad Ramuta and Mr. Shuin Bruce. They are both acting deputy commissioners of prisons, and they're taking us through various aspects of the Trinidad and Tobago prison service and what they do in terms of rehabilitation and all of that. And so far, you can join us on Facebook or YouTube and Dependency. If you want to join in, listeners, we will try our best to describe what we're seeing and what we are showing to you. Now, before we go to the next question, gentlemen, the training, if we talk in rehabilitation, right? We need to have personnel who think like that as well. So let's go back to training of recruits. Is it geared towards that, or the recruits are just see their positions of being, in authority, or more important than to have a relationship with the inmates?
Right.
Do you think that the treatment that's by some officers towards inmates might be undermining your very philosophy that you're trying to bring on stream before? So the question would be, what are some of the strides that have been made in the rehabilitation offered in prison? Because they go hand in hand.
Right. Let me do an introduction to that, and Mr. Bruce will take over from there with the official part.
Right.
We have when clients and inmates come to the prison, we consider them as persons who are broken men and women. The staff that has the mandate or the responsibility to assist inmates in providing the opportunities for change cannot be broken themselves. So our training staff has to be that while we heal ourselves to heal others, we have to create tailor-made programs for the staff as well in helping these inmates understand who they are, where they came from, and how they can do things differently. So yes, training in the social sciences, training in the way we think, training along the lines of rehabilitation is necessary for our staff, and Mr. Bruce will expand.
Mr. Bruce?
Thanks very much, sir. As Mr. Ramta would have alluded, times have changed. The whole philosophy of locking up and truly key no longer holds and hasn't held for over a century. Persons in prisons, the inmates, they are somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's father, and the officers, Mr. Ramta would have said, officers are trained, and that understanding. Trinidad and Tobago is such a small community. Everybody could sit right here, right now, and say they know at least one person in prison. And somebody could sit right now and say that. And I tell you how small the society is, and that understand that we all link together, and we must play a part. So the likelihood of our officer undermining this process, we have systems in place to weed them out, not only to weed them out, but also to do that developmental training. And these officers are in the minority.
Right, because they know when you're talking change, a client can go to a program, but when he goes back to his or her division or section, the officers there apply that inhumane treatment. You're kind of, spinning top of mud, really. You're kicking over the milk when that you just fill the pail in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to hear you say that you making attempts to fix that.
I try to be careful because the interpretation of something comes from the person who is on the spot. I tell inmates as committers, this is a group institution, a residential care institution. And by definition, according to government, that is what this institution is. That is what it is. We cannot, because of the security nature, an officer cannot give you what you want and would not. An inmate may see, for example, he wants to go outside, but you cannot go outside. You want to do this, you cannot do it now. Sometimes they interpret that as nobody cares for them. People may say how it's done, but reality, we provide opportunities, and officers continue to strive in a professional manner to ensure that the rules and regulations of the institution and our mandate of rehabilitation is carried out. So in the main, we have strong officers who are willing, and of course go the distance to ensure that the persons who leave here do not return.
On that point, Mr. Bruce and Mr. Ramata, someone raised a point on Facebook that I want to expand on a little bit, and that is in terms of what system is in place for prisoners to earn money so that upon release, they will have something to start with. Is there such a system in place, and how are the wages or earnings determined?
No, this is a message on Facebook.
Yeah.
A question or something.
Yeah.
This service is evolving in this aspect. If you go by the 1838 Act, there's a formula of how much money an inmate can get, which is foolish. I was foolish, but we give. However, when the law being drafted at that point in time, it was that the police could supposed to survive on that money. So that was money to travel home that particular day, have a meal for yourself for that particular day. And that's it. We are evolving in that.
Now, folks, those of you who are with us this morning, we want to thank you. Thank you very much for the interest in our Trinidad and Tobago prison service, because you see, when there's a national discussion, everybody have different things to say and not understanding there are different ins and outs with this institution, and there sometimes a pushback from society when any government attempts to make changes to better for the betterment of everyone, because I always say once you better the institution, you not only better it for the inmates, but you do so for the officers as well who working in that environment, and
also society, guys.
And also the society.
Always remember, everything Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service does is about public safety and creating a safer and a better society. We've had our programs into different areas to let people know, to bring it home to them. This is what we do. This is what comes out. Accept the persons as they come back. Be a forgiving society. Be a society willing to assist each other. And as long as that is done, the likelihood of the society getting better is increased.
Well, I thought that culture of forgiveness, we need to work on that. We have a lot of work to do on that aspect.
That's really scary for us.
It is. But on that note, what is the sort of developments and work that is going on with the juveniles, especially because as a young person entering a prison environment, it will be challenging. So how are you working on providing the opportunities to change the lives of young people in the system?
Providing opportunities to change is first started off on our assessment. Everything we do does not happen in a vacuum or here fairy. Especially at the youth training facility, we have a development of a care plan to identify the criminogenic needs specific to each juvenile. Programs are then created to address those needs and administered during the offender's time at the center. Of course, the willingness of the person served to be part of it. And as they develop, we're fortunate that YTC has the option of the individual going out of the system to work and also attending school external to the system.
Okay.
So we're fortunate for that.
Right.
We have, if we realize based on the criminogenic needs and the capacity that that's possible, and I'd like to just mention to those partners, I don't know if I could call the partner on there, but I'll just say Chicken and Sweeties, they have been the person who would have helped us a lot with having job placement for some of the boys, and when they leave, some of the boys continue working with them. And I remember one bit I moved to last year supervisor. So it shows that just that one example tells us that the community involvement in our rehabilitative aspects is important to our success. We are doing it, but we need persons to be part of the process.
Of course. And I know, as you've mentioned throughout, that the prison does get a lot of support from organizations, NGOs, CBOs, faith-based organizations, and we want to show some evidence of that. Shortman, could start with N, which is, well, these are some of the contributions or donations that would have been made by state and other agencies to the prison.
So yeah. M was donated also, Richard and Mission. I'll be foolish trying to call all the persons who would have donated.
Yeah.
We would have gotten PPEs to bolster what we would have purchased, sanitizers, systems, all these things, laptops for tests, all these things are important for us, and important in development. But bear
Yes.
in mind, there's always a need. And that need, I see Brother Imtiaz there, part of COPCAM, and the experience, that was a woman's prison. I see Mr. Ramota there in the picture, women's prison, Brother Baka, and Sister Kelly. They all have been there with us. And the faith base, a lot of people come in, why do we have a lot of religious programs? But religion has an important aspect in the development of anybody, bio, psycho, social, and also spiritual part of the person. But the spirituality does not happen in a vacuum and would not happen in a vacuum, but happens aligned to our chronogenic needs.
Yep. All right. Let's move on then to the next question in terms of the challenges that you face in delivering these kinds
Just
of.
before we go to
Before
that,
we go to
yes, I'm seeing you had an extension, the extension of the
the
photo.
canteen.
Yes, we see that photo here. You all did an upgrade of the canteen and the
Yes,
stocking of it. I mean, it looks good.
Looking like a
It
little
is good.
grocery.
As you can see, also the commissioner is there opening that, and it is really good that the commissioners build on each other, and the commissary where person can now can their family would put the money in the commissary, as is with jurisdiction across the world. The inmate they able to shop. What we are endeavoring going forward is that we limit the amount of stuff the person can have in their cells. Not the amount of stuff that they could buy, but the amount of stuff that they can have in their cells. Because of course we look at the issues of whatever rodents, whatever can happen, and also the spacing, the private spacing. Everybody has a personal space, and even through that we teach persons how to appreciate other person's personal space. So the commissary is there with us, and the shopping, they can go and shop accordingly.
All right. If you're just joining us, folks, you're listening to Dependency as usual, and we are just at 11:20 here. We are speaking with Mr. Bruce and Ramuta from the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. And Mr. Ramuta, you're still there, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Right. So gentlemen, tell us what opportunity now. Someone and that's a good point Marsha made about we have to do program now for society to see how we can reach society and to try to get them to see people coming out of prison as our people, the nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, they are falling short, but if people want to reintegrate, and so this is what we continue to do here on this radio program by trying to do just that, to try. We may not succeed with everyone, but we're gonna keep trying. This is why I decided to start the Dependency. This is why I made that phone call from Brooklyn to Natasha 20 years ago to coming home, because people didn't understand. I didn't understand why I let a crack rock destroy a whole career and sent me adrift. But I knew I was not a bad person. So I wanted people to know that after doing studies on it and showing them know how many workshops we had, look at the scientific part of substance abuse. This is why we decided to do this program. So we will do our part as much as we could. But gentlemen, what are the opportunities are there now? Oh, let's look at the challenges.
Yeah.
Right.
The usual challenges that COVID-19 for us, the challenges are just a creation of new opportunities for us. We have restructured, reformatted, adapted to new and innovative strategies to continue our mind, because our mind must continue. You just talk about that 20 years ago, and you haven't given up, and you've kept on trying, and likewise the prison service will keep on trying. Our mandate is to provide rehabilitative opportunity to all those persons in our space, and we'll continue doing that. We've looked at the virtual programming methodology. We've also had the hybrid where we started off virtual person coming. We like to thank YTEP at least for some of the intervention. We also started with the training of our staff. I know Mr. is instrumental in training of our staff, the retraining of our staff, so we could they could be part of those rehabilitative issues.
Right.
Some
Mr. Bruce, can I come in here?
Yeah, Mr. Muja, go ahead.
Right, I'm getting some signals here, so I want to make a comment to get read.
Yeah.
One of the tools, one mechanism to provide opportunities to change both for staff and inmates is our radio station. And God, you can come in here and give the history on it at your timing. Presently, we have a radio station in prison service, staffed by both officers and inmates. However, because of the high COVID cases we had recently, down now, we have to curtail the inmate staffing at the radio station very soon. But we have inmates officers doing research, physical research, online research to the inmates. So we benefit from the benefit of advertising. When you repeat something over and over, it gets stuck in your head. And that's with jingles and colors and so we have digital programming. We attempt to reach this Sinclair in his reputation. Dependency reach there, but we close. God, we close. Yeah, we inmate hearing another inmate speaking about change does a lot for him than a member of staff. That inmate can feel, empathize, and identify with the pain, the struggles, of where he came from, and where he has reached. And through the radio station, it's a medium where we can dispense and disseminate the inmates positive thinking. A challenge for us in the radio station. We need to have equipment to the stations, and we need to have inmates cooperate with us in focusing on the program and so on. So, God, you speak on the rest of the original station at your own timing.
Yeah,
Well, yes, and I'm just thinking back to when we launched Rise Maximum Radio in 2012. So this year will be 10 years of Rise Maximum Radio in September.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
And
and it's a good job. You all did a good job at that. I know the Rise Maximum Radio is really a passion for you all, and you all have so much plans for the development of that entity, that part of our rehabilitative. And the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Services is willing to partner with you all that. Going forward, willing to partner with you all to develop it. We have used it to not its capacity. We've had our challenges and we continue to grow, and we've received the assistance. I know from you personally, God, personally out of your pocket, and we thank you. I know Mr. Spring, who's probably listening at the moment, that you all shake your head because you all know his passion for this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, what?
We are part of the International Forum of Prison Radio.
Correct.
Yeah, Spring.
And that is something you all help develop, and we continue to utilize that. So
yes,
Maximum Radio, where inmates work alongside officers. It tells what can happen within the institution and the whole mindset and that growth.
You know, gentlemen, this prison radio could be so powerful. We see right in Jamaica where artists record become big hits when they release. There was a young man, because we belong to Prison Radio International, and there was a young man in the US who actually was doing a long stretch, nearly 30-something years, and the governor in that state was listening to the radio station and give this young man a pardon. He was so good. He was so well done on the radio. He was so well placed that the governor just listened and continued to listen. Next thing you know, Mr. Man got a pardon, Now he is
It's
running
a free
program.
man now.
Yes, and he's
And
helped to develop a program.
yes.
Same radio station. So it can be used in so many different ways, but we have to thank Mr. Roger, Gordon Husbands. These were the two people who we approached first. And I will never forget these gentlemen because they opened the door for us to start the relationship with the Trinidad and Tobago Service. And then I'm thankful to hear that, you know, and we must recognize Mr. Martinez. And then he overseed the production and the installment and everything and the launch. And with under the watchful eye of the British High Commissioner at the time, Arthur Snell.
Yeah.
And then
And no, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just recognizing the people who I know, you know, along with Mr. Bruce and Mr. Ramota, because I know Mr. Ramota did stay as well. But Mr. Martinez, then Mr. Stewart, Mr. Wilson, and now Mr. Pulchan is in the chair. And we want to thank you all very much for at least keeping this going, because, you know, many people tried and had different ideas. But this morning is about the positive, and we want to keep the positive vibe alive with it. And thank you very much for keeping it going, Mr. Bruce, and all of you who are responsible. It's an important tool.
But Mr. Ramota, like you, he has his passion for the radio. Mr. Spring, I like to mention also Krabby, you know your friend Krabby and Salt and Pepper. That team, they have been doing good. I like to mention also Andrew Douglas.
Yes.
Andrew Douglas has been using that medium not only to develop himself, but also to reach out to the new committed inmates and also the other inmates. And it has that opportunity for that peer counsel, that peer involvement. And Andrew Douglas has been using it along with the other inmates who work side by side with the officers, not only to develop self, but develop the radio and other inmates.
Potapo, I wouldn't want to answer that on here. All right, let me just say that. And so those of you,
I start. That's yours.
Pardon?
I said, I bow to you, sir.
And
We'll talk about that in camera.
yes, I hear you. No, so I was responding to somebody on Facebook here with a question. I say we just limit positives this morning, so let's stick with that. All right. So, so now we gentlemen, we want to give the listeners a chance to, those of you who are not on Facebook and YouTube, to give a chance to call in if they have any questions.
And we'll share some of the comments from,
we share some of the
Facebook.
comments. Well, Miss Alexander is dealing with some of the comments on Facebook. And
we'll read them out for you to hear.
Right. And of course, you all have access to the Facebook and YouTube page afterwards. You can go back and answer any question that have been posed by people on who's online this morning. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. And in return, we'll take your calls and wrap up with Mr. Bruce and Mr. Pulchan. We'll be back. Mr. Ram.
I come in. Don't give me no attitude, yeah?
You have Shana manners, boy. I wish I had your touch, boy.
You groom them. First, you have to target them. Scope them out. See if they have low self-esteem, family problems, you know? Then you move in and gain the trust.
I like your glasses.
After that, you feel a need. Some of them like nice things like fancy phones, hairdos, clothes, food. Have ones only looking for somebody to care and listen to the problems. You feel me? What's important though, you have to isolate them from the people. Let them believe it's all about you and them.
I care about you.
Then you get through.
Nice.
Look right there. Try it now.
A message from the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Hi, babe.
Hey, how are you? Good morning.
You busy?
Not for you, what could I say?
Okay, we have a job for you.
Job? What kind of job is it?
money in the bus. But a small work for you, 5,000. What you do? Pick up some girls, put them and remember the boss so we can a quick 5,000.
Girls, boss. What is this about?
Listen, man, it's all a small work. Reach in Toko, pick up some girls, drop them at Rima, 5,000.
That sounding like human trafficking. Are you trying to set me up or what? Partner, you know the penalty for human trafficking? Look, I gone. Excuse me, please.
Do you know that human trafficking is considered a serious crime in Trinidad and Tobago and is punishable by law under the Trafficking in Persons Act, Chapter 1210, or the TIPS Act? The penalties for recruiting, receiving, transporting, or housing a victim of human trafficking are a minimum of 15 years for trafficking adults and a fine of $500,000, a minimum of 20 years for trafficking children and a fine of $1 million, a fine of $350,000 and imprisonment for 12 years for transporting a person within or across TT borders for the purpose of exploiting that person for prostitution, a fine of $400,000 and imprisonment for 15 years per person who receive a financial or other benefit from tips, a fine of $500,000 and imprisonment for 20 years for any person who receives a financial or other benefits from trafficking children, an additional 15 years imprisonment for any trafficker who uses or threatens to use a dangerous weapon on a victim, or where the victim suffers serious bodily harm, or the victim contracts a life-threatening illness or is sexually assaulted, or if the trafficker abuses his power as someone entrusted with the care or supervision of a child victim. Imprisonment for 25 years for any member of defense or protective services or any official or public officer having the powers of arrest who commits an offense. Court can order forfeiture of convicted trafficker's property. A company can be fined $5 million for engaging in tips.
We are the Counter Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
On Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hi, thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and you are tuned in live on I95.5 FM, as well as Facebook and YouTube.
You can call us now at 622-3937 if you have any questions or comments for the gentleman speaking with us this morning.
Yes.
And I want to say thank to Stephen Bridgewater for your well put together and the message you left for us here. We thank you very much. I mean, you really took your time and did some serious artwork here, but Stephen, thank you. All the same, the extra touch of the hair,
appreciate it.
Much appreciated. And gentlemen, I wanted to so let's open the call us at 622-3937. You have any comment?
Before we go to that, I just wanted to read this comment on Facebook from Independent Senator Hazel Thompson. Good morning, ma'am. She said, I was happy to hear Mr. Ramata state that programs were not created in a vacuum and about the training that officers and inmates receive. Can he say if officers have received training in child rights? I asked this question because I recall that with regard to the program, their parents were given the opportunity to have the children come to the prison and be able to read stories to their children. There was a stipulation that this would be stopped if a particular parent did not behave well or disobey the rules. This rule does not take into consideration that the visit was for the benefit of the child, and the impact on the child would be very negative if the visits were curtailed. Mr. Ramata, I don't know if you want to address that comment.
Sure.
Hi. Right. As for the Spain prison, we would have had the opportunities where we had the library. That was the
You just went mute there, sir. I don't know what happened.
He
Are
just
you
got
froze?
frozen.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
All right, until he comes back on. At
Oh.
Port of Spain Prison, that was a pilot project that was embarked upon, and it went well.
Mm.
It went well. As regards to children's rights with those officers, I knew there was a particular level of training at YTRC when the Children Authority came on board, and we had to restructure our whole administrative format. There were many officers who were trained there in children's rights, but what happened at Port of Spain was a pilot library project where children were allowed to come to the prison, the library area, and allow the facility. It went well, and I am sure it's something we can continue. COVID, of course, put a damp on all that we do.
Yeah.
But it was a successful program.
All right, we have a call, 622-3937. Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, ma'am. How you going? I know it's kind of late for Happy New Year, but it's the first time we're hearing you. So
Don't worry. It is still new.
So we have Mr. Bruce. Our question from Mr. Bruce or Ramuta?
No, I'm really just listening, and and I said me touch base and thing to know that I am in touch with what's happening.
all right.
All
I
right.
mean, what I heard so far is, what he said, the positive things, right? And I know that things will continue. Notwithstanding the pandemic, they're still doing, quite a bit. So you all keep up the good work.
All right.
Good to hear you, everyone. Take
Good to
care.
hear you. Thank you very much. 622-3937. We have and also Mr. Ramuta and Mr. Bush tried their best. I hope Miss Senator, the independent senator, would have been satisfied with that answer.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Mr. Bruce, to that response. Oh,
Hello, good morning.
We have another call. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes,
Morning.
ma'am.
I want to find out something. There may be persons who cannot afford to buy or don't have anyone to supply them the basic necessities,
Mm-hmm.
like soap and whatever. They may not have a family member or anybody who can do that.
Yeah.
I would like to know how somebody on the outside can get that to the prison authority so that they can furnish these people without their basic supplies.
Good question.
Good question.
Good
Thank
question,
you very
because
much for
there are people in
asking.
the system like that. Mr. Bruce Ramuta, you want to take a shot at that? The lady was, you heard the question, by the way?
It was muffled.
She was asking how can persons on the outside provide foodstuff or items or money for persons who do not have relatives on the outside
Right,
to
who don't get
provide those
visits,
things.
and how could we help if there's a provision
For non-relatives to
yes,
provide
for
that kind of
non-relatives to
support.
provide that support for people who
Right. Yes. Well, the bank account, but I can't recall it off my head right now. We'll give it to you guys. You'll pick up on the webpage where they can go to the bank, Republic Bank, donate monies to the account, and it would register to our department. It's allowed physically to come to the account and choose what like that money is in the account. So yes, they can get those amenities, the physical stuff, clothing and all that. COVID again, if we want to accept clothing as we did before, we have to quarantine clothing before we even can get it. So it becomes a problem. Needs based on clothing are full at the state, so it isn't that there's an alternative.
you're still going in and out, Mr. Ramuta.
We lost you there for a
Yeah,
while.
lost you
We
there
got
for a
the
while.
fact that as an RBL account people can contribute to.
And we'll be provided with it so we can put it up on our page. We heard that.
Yes.
And
Mr. Alexander, probably could do it before the
Facebook
program
chat,
ends.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so yes, we do facilitate those. And there's the virtual visit that they can actually see and speak to members of their family. And if there's a need, we can even extend the visit time that is allowed.
622-3937. Sorry about that.
Please try again.
And we coming close to what 11:42 now. And we are speaking to Mr. Bruce and Rambuta. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good day, Natasha and Mr. Hamilton and the other guests.
Good morning, sir.
I'm not too sure if you guys covered the topic already, but is there a program in place where persons who were successfully rehabilitated, where you bring them back into this and motivate those who are inside? Thanks.
Okay.
Yes,
Is there and somebody wanted to find out too about work release program, or is it the skills that some people are acquiring there if you all help them to seek jobs outside? But this particular caller
asking the person who have been released and are successful, are they brought back to the prison to help motivate or inspire the current residents? Yeah.
Yes, and if I were to call a name, Wayne Chance was one such person. Through the radio station, we have brought ex-inmates to do motivational talks and so on to the inmates.
Okay.
And normally, these ex-inmates would join a faith-based organization. And they would come in with the faith-based organization, and yes, and give testimonies on how to survive outside here.
Our NGO too, we've done a lot of work in prison as well. You know, I've done a lot of work at nearly every station. You know, so yes, I know that door was open some years ago, and of course started by Wayne.
And of course, the relationship that prison has with various NGOs and FBOs, CBOs, there are always opportunities for persons like Wayne, like Garth, and others to go back and try to help the brothers and sisters inside.
Perhaps the person who asks a question, they want to offer his services. That you could be invited and pass it on that one to us.
I'm sure.
Okay, will do. Will do.
Sure. Mr. Bruce, you wanted to jump in? I think your mic is muted, but you can.
Your mic is muted, Mr. Bruce. Yeah, you have to unmute your mic.
No, still not. All right. Yes, we have you now.
You have me now?
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. I just like to put in something with that. We have the development of the release champions, and that will be something we'll be rolling out this year. I know that was at the launch of the release champions, where the persons who have been successful with negotiating like external institution, they become something like in drug we have the sponsor. The whole idea of the sponsor concept, where when the inmate comes out, they have someone who they can lean on. We've also had persons who in prison who would come back in through the
Right. 622-3937. You can call again if you have any question or comments with the gentleman we begin with. And I want to take this opportunity, gentlemen, to speak to the officers now who I would say tend to, for whatever reason, make the wrong decisions. First of all, I want you to think carefully of where you are and how many hundreds of people would like to be where you are right now. That's the first thing. And as further as you go into your career, I want you to listen to me carefully, because living the life of a discharged or a dishonorably discharged service personnel is not an easy thing. And I want you all to listen to this and take this foolish advice. unless you prepare to become a professional beggar after getting discharged, a dishonorable discharge from whatever arm of the protective service. If you find that it's fashionable, then go ahead, make the wrong decision. But I can tell you, I can paint the future for you. It is not going to be easy. Because when you, and especially if you're a married personnel and you lose that career, your wife now will have to carry the load for everybody. And if you want to hold on to your marriage, you now have to become if you don't get a job, remember every job you apply for now, they always want to know where you work last and why did you leave. That follows you for the rest of your life, wherever you go. And if we're talking rehabilitation, and you have to make sure and stay in step and stay in line too as well. Because to this day, we cannot understand why prisoners want cigarettes and want other items of abuse. But I want to show something to all, Mr. Bruce, Mr. Ramuta. There are different shifts that man the prison, right? From different hours at a time. Any officer who smokes cigarettes, a simple thing as cigarettes, I want you to think of this. When you go to work, you could do an entire shift without smoking cigarette. Especially if you're a coffee drinker, and we have two addiction dealing with, caffeine and nicotine. Can you, the officer who smokes cigarette, you will open 5 gates if you have to, just to go in a designated area, take a smoke, and open 5 gates to go back to your post. Why do you think that is? Well, then you should understand why the prisoner need that nicotine too. Because they take them off the streets and they don't have access to it, so they'll be craving too as well. So this is what I'm saying. These things goes, and now you will understand why this addiction and this rehabilitation is necessary, including the reopening of our drug rehab facility in the prison. How many of you as officers would have failed, even recruit training? You couldn't complete a long distance run. You up to this day, you can't do an about turn without wobbling. And how many of you from recruit training, you can even do the required amount of push-up, but you still get a blind, right? And you still understand. Well, then you should understand how a prisoner could come out here sometimes and fail and have to come back into the institution. So it works both ways. We are not perfect people, and most of you drink too. When you have function, some of you drink the other character you can or bless it up before you go home. It's the same thing. How many of you? So then you need to understand recidivism too as well, because you can't do an entire shift without smoking a cigarette. Why? Because you're addicted to that nicotine. So we have to start, everybody must start thinking together, how can we change this system? Prisons around the world have tried to stop trafficking. They really tried. And Mr. Bruce and Mr. Ramata will tell you, who've been on courses outside and met our prison officials, will tell you that trafficking is a embedded, bugbear for most prisons around the world.
It's a worldwide phenomenon.
It's a worldwide phenomenon.
It's a deprived environment, so obviously
Right.
people will try to.
So,
Not
gentlemen,
only private environment, but persons who want to be here, and persons who are accustomed doing what they want and breaking the law.
Yeah.
So it's that situation, that reality.
Gentlemen, at some prisons that we've been to, at some point, now cigarettes are not illegal in the country. So, and some prisons around the world understand that addiction to nicotine too, and they allow smoking in the prison. They have designated areas, they have lighter ports. They don't give them matches and lighter. They have light ports. They have, and cigarettes could actually go in a canteen. Inmates can actually go in a canteen and buy the cigarettes. So at some point, which is the lowest form of addiction and the lowest scale, we have to maybe reach that at some point where inmates can have access to the cigarettes and understanding that too is an addiction. That rehab facility in the prison, I'm hoping that we'll reach to that one day too as well. You know, we have a long way to go, but the strides you're making, we want to congratulate you on it, and you know, hope for the best for the future. 62337, sorry for staying so long, but I had to say that, especially to the officers.
I know it's your passion. I know that's your passion.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
God, I wanted I was listening very avid to the this morning's discussions. I wanted to bring up a point that I don't know if anybody listened to the Parliament the other day with Pence's bill. He brought up the issue that he felt there should be a rehabilitation clause.
Yes.
The reason being, he well knows that you can't force anybody into rehabilitation, no matter how much avenue you try. So I wanted to make it more compulsory. So what is the view the deputy commissioners there feel of such a clause being put into place that might help them mandate it to the client?
Question from Mr. Bruce Ramuta. You want to take that question?
Yes, good morning. I recognize the voice. Removing someone from denial is a key. So the offender, once he comes to term with his criminogenic need, and if it's a sex offender, there is hope for him in therapy and so on. So in the prison,
Gosh, we're losing you again, sir. Just repeat that last sentence.
No, I said denial is a key factor.
Yeah.
If someone's in denial, they will refuse any sort of a program where if they assume that they are guilty. So a key to any rehabilitative program as regards to sex offenses is to get that person, well, we're assuming that they are guilty, right? It's to accept their weakness, to accept their what is their criminogenic needs, or in some doctors will tell you it's an illness, right? It's an illness that has to be treated. That's why some jurisdictions they put person on a sex offender list for life.
Right.
So we need to look at that crime in a whole different context by itself. But to answer the caller's question as regards to what the senator had said in mandatory programs, I don't think mandatory would work, but there's a lot of groundwork has to be done to get people out of denial, and it's all uphill climb after that.
I think also what the senator may have been alluding to was our heavy reliance on punitive measures as means of punishment. And I think he was looking at alternatives to incarceration that would involve either community custodial sentences, those kinds of things, where people will be in a different kind of environment and perhaps will be able to receive the kind of psychological assistance that they need.
What is healthy dialogue is taking place? Yes, we can respond to opinion and move forward with something positive.
Gentlemen, we have come to the end of the road this morning with our program. And Mr. Bruce, closing remarks? Any closing remarks from you?
Yeah, I could say in a closing remark is that employment after prison is not the answer. It is the end result. The answer is having the right mindset. Don't have the right mindset and you gain employment, you're going to falter. Having a right mindset is the key to success, not employment.
Well said. Mr. Bruce?
Yes, I would like to agree that the mindset is important. There's always a continuum of needs and continuum outcomes. The mandatory programming has its place, and it's a continuum. It's another weapon in the arsenal for us going forward with rehabilitation. As we know with substance abuse, not everything works for everybody, but something works for somebody. And it is something that the prison service, by providing opportunities, know that somewhere in the continuum, somebody would fall in line and understand and reach to that place of understanding where there's a need to change. I thank you very much on behalf of the Commissioner of Prison, the executive, for this opportunity to say what's happening in prison, and as we go forward and a partner in our rehabilitation effort. Thank you very much, guys. And Natasha, and thank you, Trinidad and Tobago.
You're welcome, Mr.
You're
Bruce and Mr. Rambutan. We wish you all the best going forward in your career, gentlemen. You be good, take care, be safe.
Thank you very much.
And to the officers again out there, again, I ask you to think hard. If you want to hold on to your family, then hold on to your career, make the right decisions. Because you don't want to be out here trying to justify your existence because you had a chance, you had an opportunity to find out from the men who doing it, who did it, Mr. Bruce, Mr. Amota, where they reach. Find out from them then if you're not sure. Anytime you end up, because they made it this far and they are good examples of officers who can hold on to their career and do the right things. Trust me, you don't want to get that discharge. All right? So, folks, God bless you all. Take good care. Be safe. Tasha, thank you. Gary, thank you. Kingston, thank you.
Good afternoon.
We have major news next at 12 noon with Mr. Sterling Henderson. Remember, folks, you can go back to our Facebook page and answer the questions, or to the person if you have any comment for them. Take care. Talk to you again. See you again next Sunday, God willing, on Dependency. Have a good week. Bye-bye.